Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
This is the Hot Press.
All right, so there have been a lot of news all around in sports lately, but of course, we're taking a look at it from here. But the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, and this is kind of what's hard for Celtics fans, but Jaylen Brown had a career best season and unfortunately is going to be sidelined for the rest of the season after suffering a wrist injury as the all-star guard Jaylen Brown, a torn scapulinate ligament in his left wrist and will miss the remainder of the season. He had a career high where he was scoring at least 24.7 points on 48.4% of shooting this season for the Boston Celtics. He was diagnosed over the weekend and is expected to have surgery this week. So there was no promising timetable for the Celtics and for him. The wrist is terrible, but it just kind of seems to me like Boston right now, they have to trust every single one of their assets up to this point, including Jason Tatum and so much more, because Boston's in a position where they've got to make this work. They have to make this work for themselves. Otherwise, it's not going to be good. Not going to be good for the rest, at least for what the Eastern Conference is shaping up. So this is where it sucks to have at least one of their best star guards out for the rest of the season, but this is where they really have to make it up. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this was always an interesting story as we heard this before, but the Jacksonville Jaguars have been expected to sign former quarterback Tim Tebow as a tight end. So it's an undisclosed contract, but Tim Tebow will be reunited with his old head coach from Florida, Urban Meyer, after all these years, and have won 2 national championships as a member of the Gators. So, of course, a lot of us were very skeptical about this signing, so was I, because it finally took Tim Tebow after all these years that he's not going to be positioned as a quarterback in this league, especially after what we saw in Denver, in New York, in New England, in Philadelphia. I mean, I understand and I appreciate the heart and soul, but it just didn't cut out. His presence, not to mention the throwing style as a left-hander, but the other part of it is just it wasn't going to work with him. They were eventually going to figure him out, but everybody ranted and raved about the upset against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But so what? That's it. So signing him as a tight end, I think, is interesting. And I hope for good hopes for Tim Tebow. But it just seems to me like the Jags, it's an interesting position that they are in. This is one of those positions that Urban Meyer is working to make this offense pop. The defense doesn't really look all that solid. But they're going to do whatever it takes to make this team work. They're not going to win a whole lot of games. But this is a transitioning, and this is also a building block that Urban Meyer loves to do when he was in Florida and when he was in Ohio State. And this is just one of his methods. So the Seattle Mariners so far, they are expected to call up top prospect Jarred Kelenic this week. So a lot of the top sources, they will be calling him up on Thursday from what it looks like. But Kelenic was the number 6 pick in the 2018 amateur draft and was ranked the number 3 prospect in all of baseball. So the outfielder, of course, for the first game of Seattle's home series against the Cleveland Indians, Kelenic was sidelined early in spring training after a strained adductor muscle in his left knee. Was batting 9 for 20 with 2 homers, 6 RBIs, scored 6 runs and 2 stolen bases in 5 games with the AAA affiliate Tacoma Rainiers. So this is just kind of the direction for the Seattle Mariners. They are working to promoting some of these young kids, and Kelenic, he's a really interesting prospect. They've already got Taylor Trammell. They already have J.P. Crawford. If this is kind of the direction that Seattle is going into, where they're just trying to develop young prospects, and because it has worked in some teams. Seattle was in a point where they started to catch fire. Now they're kind of, staying at least on the edge. But, for some of these stars like Kyle Lewis and a couple others, these are good kids. But it's going to take a process for Seattle to really kind of get themselves to being in a competitive state of mind, because not to mention, the pitching has to be on point. It has to be, because in order to really make it in through this league, you got to have tough pitching, you got to have offense, and you got to have defense on top of it. This is one of those things that, when you look at that AFC West or the AL West, the A's right now are catching fire. The Angels are starting to kind of catch up, and then Seattle. So you're kind of looking at this division right now, and Seattle, I don't even think they're going to be in any position to compete. But if they're working to work their top prospects, it's not a bad idea to end up looking at this moment. So, of course, Davante Adams, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, he had mentioned about his teammate and his quarterback Aaron Rodgers here, that he's proud of the connection with the Green Bay, but would do extra thinking on future if Aaron Rodgers was to leave. So it seems like he's very optimistic if Jordan Love does start as the quarterback. But like I said, this will be interesting for the next couple days. That was the Hot Press.
This is the Hot Press.